Filling in for Joey here, who's on vacation. We're going to check in on a pretty bloody day out there, big drop. A lot of it having to do with a data reaction here pre-market on employment numbers, but Bitcoin is getting dragged down with the NASDAQ. And again, that correlation is way more significant during regular trading hours. So 9:30 a.m., bell rings, and that correlation syncs up when the NASDAQ has way more dollar volume. And so it's definitely worth paying attention to if you're looking at short-term price action. But we're going to look at all kinds of time frames here because overall, let's shrink my face. So I was keeping an eye on this 4-hour channel the last couple of days and just keeping the mindset, absolutely nothing changes if we're within this 4-hour channel. And here we are breaking bear below. And so now I stop watching it and I keep watching the 4-hour time frame. And if you look at the 4-hour, we have not confirmed a 4-hour uptrend in over a week. We're on something like 9 days now since we topped out on the August 25th. There's been nice bounces there that have created the space for the potential of a 4-hour uptrend, but we just have not confirmed one. Here's another one. Big bounce, no 4-hour uptrend, just giving it back. So what I'm looking for from here is a clean 4-hour uptrend to at least tell us something in the short term is shifting. I'm sticking to 4-hour time frame as my lowest time frame that I'm watching in crypto. And I'll answer any questions that you guys have in the YouTube chat here towards the end. I've got about 45 minutes I can spend here, but my mindset is, again, I'm trading crypto right now, the least amount that I've traded crypto in 7 years since I first started. And the reason is we are in a consolidation period where there is way less opportunity and there's way more chop. And as a full-time trader, something that I constantly talk about is knowing when to pump the gas as a trader and when to pump the brakes as a trader. We pump the gas when constricting ranges break one direction or the other, and we have price discovery. And that's when I'm playing if we're in breakout mode, I'm playing 5-minute back burners, hourly back burners. If we're in a consolidation sideways range, I'm not doing anything on those time frames because the signals, the probability of those signals is way less likely. I mean, hourly back burners, 5-minute back burners aren't even a thing when you're consolidating. The premise for those trades is you have to be in a strong trending market, one direction or the other. So for me, it just means be extremely patient and trade a lot less. And this is why it's so important where if I'm only trading crypto and nothing else in markets, I'm over trading right now and I'm not doing well if that were the case. You got to be able to go elsewhere. You know, there's more clarity and more opportunity in other places in markets. And that's why it's so important because, again, if I were forced to be only trading crypto, I get it. I know it's really hard to hit the off switch and just not trade anymore. But if I'm confined to one sector, that will lead you down a path of over trading. So here's our plus minus here on the right side. It's not as brutal as I would think it would be in alts, all things considered. And if you look at the dominance chart, it's dropping hard. So this is telling us, Bitcoin's leading the way down and alts are not dropping as hard. So looking at the weekly time frame, weekly consolidation is now underway. And what I'm looking at is, it's funny because, Joey does these live streams multiple times a week and I don't watch them because I don't have time and all that. But this past weekend, I said the 2-week time frame for the dominance chart, EMA 12, that's my guide. We did close just below at one candle, but it has been holding as support for pretty much 2 years at this point. And then, of course, I find out Joey was saying the same thing. And it's not surprising with me being his mentor and him, being a real good trader on his own as well. We're both watching the same thing. And it's funny because we don't use the 2-week time frame often at all. But that's the guide. If something's going to shift considerably and if we're going to see alts start to outperform Bitcoin, it's this time frame. And ideally, in an ideal world, we see Bitcoin going up and this bear break taking place because that means there's more bullish opportunity in altcoins. If Bitcoin's going down and this breaks bear to give the altcoin signal, that just means Bitcoin's dropping harder than altcoins. So I won't be looking to focus on alts at all until this is lost at a minimum. Then I need to analyze, is Bitcoin bullish or bearish when this is happening? But I don't even analyze or look at it if this is support. So keeping an eye on that into the end of the year. Again, just talking about correlations. People love to bash the correlation with the NASDAQ, and I get it. If you're looking at, big picture timeframes, or if you're way zoomed out, it's way less obvious. But again, just here's the 5 minute of Bitcoin on the left. I know most of you I don't have to prove this to, but some of you I do. So here is 920, the high on Bitcoin. Here is 920, the high on QQQ. And then, the charts are the same. Even the little bounces. It's not tick for tick, but it's pretty darn close. 1055, 1055. It is not, these aren't coincidences that these little bounce attempts, new low of the day, 1245. New low of the day, 1245. And now here's your bounce attempts. It's tick for tick correlated very clearly since the bell rang. So again, if I were trading on the 5 minute time frame, absolutely, I've got the NASDAQ up and I've got Bitcoin up next to each other side by side for any potential clues, because they are doing the same thing. And sometimes you can get little clues, one versus the other. For example, we know NVDA, most important stock in the market because of its holdings in SPY, QQQ, semiconductor sector. It put in a bottom before QQQ, and it's leading this bounce now. Here's a 5 minute uptrend for the first time today on NVDA. QQQ hit a new low of the day. NVDA did not. So there's little clues that we can get when you're doing these comparisons. How would I play that? Well, I could say NVDA is positioned very well, and I did say this, NVDA is positioned very well if QQQ can find a bottom. And so that tells me, okay, if QQQ starts to bounce, focus on NVDA for that play. And so again, if I were watching Bitcoin and QQQ, there's potentially some clues similar to that on the short-term time frame. But again, I don't think anybody should be trading on, well, if you're having success, keep doing it for sure. But I'm speaking to 95% of people when I say shouldn't be trading on the 5 minute time frame in crypto right now. So next question is, can we confirm a 5 minute uptrend? Then we play the zoom out game. We'll zoom out to the hourly. We'll scout an hourly low or high. What's the bounce retracement size, etc. We know bigger picture, at least for me. I was talking about watching for an inverse head and shoulders on the weekly. At this point, the retracement size makes it less probable that the bulls will be able to confirm a weekly uptrend straight from here. At this point, we may be just looking, bulls are hoping for a weekly equilibrium to shape up, a tightening range here. So we must set a weekly high or low compared to 49,000. And again, I'm watching for that across asset classes. Gold, I'm looking for a weekly high or low. Lots of space for it. Silver, I'm looking for a weekly high or low. Looked good yesterday, gave it all back today. So no sign of that weekly high or low. It's trying. NASDAQ, I'm looking for a weekly high or low. There's no sign of it. Again, at this point, because of how much we pulled back from that very nice bounce, bulls are just hoping for an equilibrium through September to tighten up. But we must find that weekly high or low. We'll talk about the signs to find that weekly high or low in just a moment. Thanks, 55 move. Likes are appreciated. So yes, looking for a weekly high or low NASDAQ. Where else? SPY, looking for a weekly high or low. And then, of course, all the individual names, Apple, etc., watching for signs of a weekly high or low. But being very truthful, there are no signs of a weekly high or low being set at this point. No sign of it. So what do we need? Let's talk about aggressive. So someone asks me, what should I be looking for a weekly high or low to form? And my question is, do you want to be aggressive or conservative? I'm not liking, I just saw this weekly EMA 12. I am not liking if that crosses bear. Pause right there. We'll go right back. But if this crosses bear, look at this signal. We got the bull signal down here at 25,000 for that 200% run up from that point. The bear crosses of this EMA 12 have marked considerable downside ever since I've been trading crypto since 2017. That's not a good look. It hasn't happened yet, but it's close. Bulls really want to save that from happening. That makes me feel a little better. We had a bear cross right there that did get some more bull follow through. All right. I thought I was looking back at the last 3 times it marked the last 3 major tops. That's not the case. So not as bad as I thought, But still, not a good look. You don't want to see that happen. All right, someone asks me, what am I looking for a weekly high or low to form? My question back, are you aggressive or are you conservative? If the individual says, I'm looking to be aggressive, I say, well, we haven't confirmed a 4-hour uptrend since this consolidation started. That can be your signal. And I put out, on our crypto course way back when, I put out a similar statement where I said, the segment was called Looking for Long-Term Bottoms. And I said, it was an update for the module, and I said, we haven't confirmed a weekly uptrend in X whatever months. The next time that we confirm a weekly uptrend in Bitcoin, we can use that as a longer term potential signal for aggressive bulls. And that happened at 18, 19,000. Same thing, just different time frame. We have not confirmed a 4-hour uptrend in over a week. The next time that we confirm a 4-hour uptrend, an aggressive bull can say that's either the weekly high or low or I'm wrong. Now, risk and reward is fairly favorable depending on how it happens. But, if you confirm a 4-hour uptrend from here, your stop goes under the 53.6 low. And, the probability that you're going to stop out is higher because the bulls haven't proven much on just the 4-hour time frame for the weekly perspective. But an aggressive bull is using that 4-hour. Let's go to conservative. The individual says, I'm looking to be conservative. Then you're looking for the 12-hour or the daily to be your signal. And again, same thing. There's no fake outs here. We have not confirmed a 12-hour uptrend since this consolidation started. So maybe you wait for a 12-hour uptrend to confirm, and then you use that low as a stop for any new entries. If you want to be even more conservative, you can then wait for the daily. And again, it's a scale where risk and reward, the more aggressive you are, the less risk you're going to have because it's an earlier signal, and the more reward potential you have, but the probability that you're going to stop out is higher depending on which signal you're using. So it's a trade-off. And which do you want to look for? That's up to you as the individual. If you've got a big long-term no-touch position, maybe you're going to be conservative before you add any newer positions on there. If you don't have a long-term no-touch position and you're all cash, you're going to be a little bit more aggressive, perhaps, to enter back into a position. A couple other altcoins. I am keeping an eye. Again, I need the signal on the dominance chart to tell me it's time to be looking at altcoins, but I am keeping an eye on some things. I haven't traded an altcoin in months, but I'm watching this INJ weekly falling wedge potential. Again, I'm not being aggressive, and maybe the thing for me, what's most important is when I make a long entry, I want the wind at my back. I want the position to be profitable right out of the gate. And again, if that happens 10, 20% off the low, I give up some of that reward potential for the comfort of having some confirmation that momentum is now going in favor of the bulls. So I am watching this pattern, but I'm not going to act aggressively on it. Sol, still keeping an eye on it. Again, support zone still holding. Yes, we dipped just below it, but I like the clarity, just a sideways range still. We're back testing this support zone, 116 to 121. Trying to set the weekly high or low, holding that level. And then we'll see if the bulls are able to pull it off. And again, those BTC pairings are likely seeing a little bit of upside here. Sol BTC, daily bounce underway the last few days. Of course, we know ETH BTC, absolutely nothing changes if this weekly downtrend line is resistance. And we've been saying that for years, maybe at this point, certainly over a year. So just patiently waiting. Yeah, it is just not good for ETH if this is resistance. Crypto stocks, and then I'll get to the chat room here in just a moment. So crypto stocks, also weak, already dropping to weekly lower lows. They're weaker than Bitcoin. So here's coin. And again, what Bitcoin is doing is this. And obviously, dropping to the lower low is clearly bearish. I mean, coin right now is hitting the lowest levels that we've seen in 6 months. That is significant. We're in a weekly, daily, hourly downtrend. And look at the 3-month time frame, long term. I mean, these are these equilibriums long term that we keep an eye on. Tesla has a forever 3-month equilibrium. Jets, the airliner ETF, has a forever 3-month equilibrium. And it's looking like some of these altcoins are going to be shaping up forever 3-month equilibriums. By forever, I just mean long-term, potentially years. Here's ETH. ETH may do that. Remember, I was wrong, but remember, I was looking for Bitcoin to do that. Like that. I was wrong because we got the higher high, but no follow through. And so these crypto stocks potentially doing that. But coin, 3-month lower high set, and now we scout an eventual 3-month higher low, but it may take a while. And of course, CLSK had a big bearish reaction. Bear flag confirmed, bearish reaction to its August update. MARA, weekly lower low, joining in now. Wolf, I like Wolf. Clarity, look at how much better it's holding up. Wolf is doing what Bitcoin is doing. Trying for that weekly higher low. This is a really nice, clear equilibrium. And so if I am looking long in a crypto stock, Wolf is definitely at the top of the list. Higher risk reward because it's a penny stock, so my position size needs to reflect that. But we've got a support to go off of. 3 other names that we just looked at don't have that. MSTR, still holding support as well. So at least there's some supports to go off of, 100 psychological. But again, the bears still in full short-term control. And again, I don't have any confidence, until the NASDAQ starts shaping up a weekly higher low, I won't have much confidence that Bitcoin is doing it on its own. Yes, it can do its own thing. Yes, those correlations can break, but they're definitely prevalent enough for me to be paying attention to. Especially days like today just solidify why that matters to me. All right, reading the chat room. Again, thanks for those likes. 56. If we get it up to 87, I'd be so pumped. What's up, Karan Bell? How are alts the strongest right now? Just a shift. Yeah, it's definitely not normal. Again, the usual, the most likely scenario on a big red day is alts are leading the way down. Again, I look at my list, I would have expected 5 to 10% range of red. Instead, it's 1 to 5% range of red. Happy Friday. Not going to look at foreign markets right now. 88 BTC. We just had a spike, right? There was a little headline there. I mean, it's trying to be a falling wedge, but it's been trying to be a falling wedge for 3 years. So these BTC pairings, I don't trust falling wedges on them. They don't. Again, falling wedges are good patterns when a longer term higher low is the most likely scenario. If an hourly higher low is the most likely scenario, sure, I'm going to watch a 5-minute falling wedge and potentially trade it. If a daily higher low is the most likely scenario, I'm going to watch an hourly falling wedge and look to play it. INJ, why am I watching the weekly falling wedge? Well, maybe that weekly falling wedge shapes up a 3-month higher low. Long-term higher low for a long-term tightening range. But the altcoins that are in these perpetual slow bleeds, I mean, I guess, on this example, you could say, well, maybe we hold the all-time low. Maybe a weekly falling wedge holds the all-time low. Okay, I'll give you that, but weekly lower highs are very clear. We've been setting weekly lower highs ever since we topped out. We have not broken weekly lower highs on ADA BTC in 2024. So if you're going to tell me something is shifting and something is changing, break the high of the last bounce. And then we could say, okay, something's different for the first time in 2024. But until that happens, nothing's different. We need a daily uptrend, and we need to break that weekly lower high. Longer term Bitcoin, it's still a potential bull flag. The burden of proof is on bears on the monthly chart to prove to us this is not a bull flag. So depending on where you measure from, here's a 50% retracement from the last monthly consolidation. If you're going off the low, It's still right at 40% retracement. So this monthly consolidation in itself, there's no major red flags. It's not ideal. It's long and drawn out. Now, if we confirm a monthly downtrend, that statement significantly shifts for me. Do I think this weekend crypto bounces and gets ahead? Honestly, I don't have an edge in that question, which is why I'm not trading crypto right now. If I had an edge that told me I have a high probability of being right, I would be trading crypto this weekend. But we could easily see altcoins get a leg down, Saturday to catch up to the BTC weakness a bit. I don't know. That's a really important thing for a trader to be able, and this is where the ego comes into play. You got to look in the mirror and say, I don't know, when you don't have an edge. Because if you try and pretend and kid yourself, that's when you trade when you shouldn't be trading. And so I think a weekly higher low is the most likely scenario on Bitcoin. I see no sign that it's forming right now. So I don't have an edge nailing a weekly higher low on Bitcoin. Confirm a 4-hour uptrend, maybe that starts to shift, and maybe we can get a little bit of an edge getting some new information, but certainly that's not happening yet. I'm going to do a long-term check-in live stream for broader markets and everything sometime. Maybe next week. Yeah, I'll do that next week, probably. My dad's coming to town. Won't fully commit, but we'll say 75% chance next week. So again, LTC, BTC, is that a falling wedge? It's been trying to be a falling wedge. And eventually it is, right? Trying. Months and months later. It's just perpetual grind downs that see short, fast, hard bursts that lead to perpetual grind downs. I mean, that's the pattern very clearly. So looking at LTC, BTC, we could say, is anything changing? Well, if we close this week above weekly EMA 12, that will be, we closed right on it here, but essentially that'll be the first time that has happened in over a year. So that's something. When's the last time we confirmed a weekly uptrend on LTC, BTC? I don't know. Man, even this one didn't have a weekly uptrend. Equilibrium bear break. Back here. It has not happened in 2 years. So if something significant is going to shift. So I already know that if LTC, BTC gives us the first weekly uptrend in over 2 years, that means that Bitcoin dominance is losing that 2-week EMA 12 that I talked about at the beginning of the stream. So it's trying to give us some signs that things are shifting, but obviously more follow-through needed. Did I trade SPY or QQQ today? Yeah, I grabbed QQQ, SQQQ. So bearish QQQ on this 5-minute lower high. At this point in time, I was long Tesla, long NVDA, and grabbed that SQQQ. Stopped out Tesla break even, stopped out NVDA break even by selling some partials, taking my stop, and then exited some SQQQ here and then the rest here. So QQQ, nice bounce, but we haven't confirmed a 5-minute uptrend yet. Have to do that for the first time on the day if things are going to shift into an hourly oversold bounce. And we only just got to hourly oversold, hardly oversold at all. In an example like this, when I'm watching the NASDAQ, I'm not trying to play a bounce today because all major sectors hit lows together. And that for me is enough of a signal to not try and play a bounce. But it's my reminder, oh, we can definitely see another leg down if the hourly RSI is not even oversold. And the reason today feels so extreme is because we had the pre-market bounce on initial employment data that created the space for a big drop without being hourly oversold. Yeah, I mean, 200 daily moving average. I don't use it for Bitcoin, but I assume it would be a similar signal to the weekly EMAs crossing that I mentioned. Bitcoin has not confirmed a weekly uptrend since we started the weekly downtrend right here. Nice bounces. Same thing on the 4-hour that I was just talking about. Weekly, nice bounces. No uptrend, nice bounce. No uptrend, solid bounce. No uptrend at this point. Appreciate that, Brett. Thoughts on BTC maturation, maturity? I'm going to just go with that word. Maturation. Is that how you say that? And the idea of a 4-year cycle no longer being most probable. Many times I have said that a lot of longs are going to get in trouble assuming the halving cycle is going to be always the same thing. We will have a time where a halving cycle does not lead to all-time highs and longs will get wrecked. Is this the time? I don't know. But it's definitely going to happen. The market creates patterns and they can be utilized, and then those patterns shift, and you better be agile. And you better not be attached to something always being the case, because nothing is always the case. What criteria would be necessary to short weak alts? Good risk reward. I mean, it depends on what you're talking about, but again, aggressive or conservative. If I'm, some of these names have daily lower highs. So here was a low risk spot where, we had a resistance level and then we dropped to a lower low and we bounce. And so a bear can be playing off of that 138 high. We topped out in the 135s. You just need good risk reward spots. You need spots where you're wrong as fast as possible. If this level breaks, my thesis is wrong and I'm out of the trade. If this level holds, I'm correct and I'm going to make money. That's what trading is all about in a nutshell. You want to know you're wrong as fast as possible. You need a clear statement thesis. So the clear statement on Sol would be, this is a 12-hour. This is either the 12-hour lower high being set or I'm wrong. And then you try and play off that level. If that level breaks, you stop out. You were wrong. It did not hold as resistance. If it holds, you stay in the trade. And so now we're just grinding the 12-hour EMA 12 down, and we'll see how long that lasts. What do I think about, so the only reason I'm going to look at this is just because we can apply it to crypto. What do I think about XLK being oversold on the 4-hour? What is the history? That's the number one thing that I care about. Well, we just dipped down to 4-hour RSI in the teens. So that instantly tells me I know we can go lower. If I looked back and 4-hour RSI bounced from 25 the last 6 times it hit, then okay, I can use that as a significant piece of the puzzle in my trade thesis and game plan. But if I look back and we got, a drop down to the teens and then another drop down to the teens a few months ago, that means we can easily drop down to the teens again. So it's not a significant enough signal historically for that to be in itself a reason for entering long. It could be a factor. You could be playing off a previous support level, or you can see a spot where you have low risk to give it a shot. And part of the reasons because 4 hours oversold, that's fine. But 4-hour, I wouldn't say I'm going long because 4 hours oversold, because again, if you did that these other couple of times this year, multiple times you get smoked. And where's your invalidation point? If my thesis is I'm entering XLK long because 4 hours oversold, well, another leg down, it's still 4-hour oversold. Where's your thesis that you're proven wrong and exit in that scenario? It needs to be, this is the low or I am wrong. And you put your stop with a little wiggle room under the current low. Liquidation levels and order flow on BTC, I don't trade that way. I have never used those things to trade crypto in my 7 years of trading crypto, and it's been going really well over those 7 years. So you find things that work for you. You know, there are people that make money on crypto trading Elliott Wave or trading Ichi Cloud or trading, you know, whatever other style. I just don't use those styles because that's not what's been making me money in my trading career. So I won't say anybody that does those things is wrong. It's just not for me. And so same thing, I don't look at liquidation levels on, well, I mean, I can look at a chart and know where the liquidation levels are. I know people's stop losses are below the low at 49,000. A bunch of them are, for sure. But again, that's not really a factor in my analysis or decision making or trade entry game plans. All right. Appreciate you all tuning in. 89 likes. What did I say? That's close. I'm happy. All right. I'll do a live stream sometime next week, most likely. Longer term charts. I'll include Bitcoin in there. I mean, we just looked at the monthly chart, so that's pretty longer term, but I'll do the other sectors and the broader market as a whole. What I would love to see is one more leg up in the broader market to all-time highs and in Bitcoin to all-time highs to make me real confident in my thesis of a blow off top and a longer term pullback. But it all depends on how these tightening weekly ranges go. And step one is bulls need to give us weekly higher lows if we're going to tighten up through September. No sign of it yet. Got to answer Miles. What's up, Miles? What would be my strategy for adding to long-term bags in this environment? So first off, how big is my bag now and how big is my cash that I want to add to it? If I've got 50% of the position that I want and 50% cash ready to go, I would definitely probably be adding a bit during this weekly consolidation. If I've got 80% of the bag that I want and 20% cash, maybe I'm being a bit more picky and I'm waiting for more fear. So that's probably the biggest factor. What's the ratio of cash to position you already have? If it's more cash, a little bit more aggressive, starting to scale in, longer term horizon. If it's less cash, more patient. All right, do good things. Have a great weekend, everyone.